Okay, so the day has come. Joomla module builder has been added to JCB. It is also working integratively with your components. You cannot actually build a module or a plugin without linking it to a component. If this is a problem, you might as well just link it to the demo component and piggyback off it to get your extension built. But as you see how it works, you'll understand why this integration is actually quite powerful. You need to have Joomla Component Builder 2.10.8 or later installed. At this moment it's still in beta, and I'm making this tutorial for those who is going to test its functionality and help us get it through the pull request. But we are very grateful to all those who as pro members have contributed to JCB and has freed up my time that I can actually add this type of features. So let's look at it in action. We simply clicked on the icon, and then it's also available in the sub menu, and then we can click on new. A module is very similar to a side view in that you are also able to make use of snippets, which comes from libraries. So you could select Bootstrap as a library and then be able to grab a snippet from the library area and add it in here. So it's directly linked to the same libraries as your side views and custom admin views. At the current moment, all libraries will actually be added to the components media folder, but we will eventually add a feature so that you could decide to instead add it to the actual module if you want to ship the module independently of a component for that reason. The reason we currently have it this way is just to save on the code reuse, so you don't have duplicate code in your system. Now here I'm just going to give it a name, demo, and then we obviously have a system name and a normal name. This is the name that's actually going to be used in the code. This is just for you in your system to see the difference if you have modules of the same name. You can identify them. And so this default template is what's actually going to show to the public where the module is published. Currently we're just building modules for the site area. I know it will be just as much as adding a simple switch to make the same types of modules available in the admin area. So we'll also add that feature in somewhere in the future. So you're able to use the snippets as you do in side views, and it's also able to then be available to you in your module to use. Currently there's also this code area, which is a very powerful area. You're able to make use of custom gets. Now custom gets there are two types of dynamic gets. There is what we call main gets, and then there is the custom gets, and in your modules you can only make use of the custom gets. So what JCB does is it doesn't matter how many custom gets you add, you can add as many as you like, but they all get added to one class. So that firstly means don't use custom gets with the same names, and that will eventually be used or made available to your module. Then there's also the module code. Now it might be a little bit daunting at the moment because you don't know what is expected in this area. By the time that we've pushed this out, it will actually have demo code loaded, or not demo, generic, so that you could just adapt the code and add more, and it will be like the default always loads first and gives you an idea of what's expected in this area. For now I'm just going to paste some code in here which would give you the sort of generic code that I'm talking about. So as you can see, we have a placeholder called module with three square brackets on both sides, opening and closing, which will now dynamically update this. And this is only if you're going to have a helper class. Obviously, if you don't have a helper class, you don't need this, and we can uncomment or just remove it. And then we have the default implementation from Joomla, which gets the module class and makes it available in this variable. This class being for your CSS styles. Then there's also this layout creator or parameter that gives you the option to add extra layouts, but usually the default is what will be loaded, and currently that layout is this one here, this template. That's the default. So wanting to add more different layouts is not yet possible, but we'll probably add that at a later stage, either as a plugin for pro members or as part of the core. We haven't yet decided. Okay, then so like I said, we can here select custom gets, and it will be added to a class which then can be used in the model and will be loaded in the model as a data file. So the file's name will be data.php, and it will be a helper type class, but not well, let's look at helper class first, and you see the differences that you are able to use a normal class or an abstract class. I've seen in many different modules a variation of this. So if you just want a normal class which needs to be instantiated, you could use that one. You could still be able to actually edit the header of the class. Again, here we are hoping to add some generic code just to give you an idea of what is expected. Currently you can add whatever code you want. So again, I'm just going to add some generic code here to give you an idea. So there we go. Again, we have the module placeholder, and this is very generic. As you can see, we're even returning a null here. It's not going to work at all. It's just an idea to show you the type of code that you can use in the helper class and in the header. You don't need to do, I changed this to an abstract class because of the function I've added here. It seems more proper. And here we have a fields area which works very similar to that of the plugin. You can actually create a field file which could either be used in your code, you can grab it from and create a form, or you could add it to the plugin's backend by adding it to the config area. And you can decide where the rule paths and the field paths are. This is already in place. So if you want the module to live independent of the component, you could select module here. And like in the plugin, you're actually having access to all fields in JCB, which is very powerful. And you can therefore add multiple forms. So you could add forms to the config, and then you can add forms that you want to reuse in the plugin in different regions or implementation, which makes this very, very exciting. I'm going to just use a generic name field here. No, not that one. Let's try again. There we go. You see we've changed the name, the fields, to actually show the code name as well as the label name in the layout, which makes it a little bit more intuitive. Then we have the normal install scripting options, which I know, looking at a lot of modules, they are not making use of the script file yet that much, but you're actually in Joomla able to do that. And with these areas you can make use of the normal script events during installation of a extension. Then you can also add MySQL, which are to be executed on installation or on uninstallation. and there is the README option to add your own README file. And so I'm just going to do that just to give it a a try. And here we have the add to server and sales server. Now in the in the module as well as the plugin, this area isn't fully finished and we're still working on it, but it will give you the ability, very similar to that of components, that you on compilation will push this module or plugins to their various locations in a sale server, which gives you the option of actually linking it to a server. Now JCB has a server area where you set up servers, and so this whole integrative functionality is going to be functional soon enough. And if you just check our pull requests, the moment that I'm implementing this in full, in fact, you know what, I think this is already completely finished. I think what is not fully ready is the actual XML generator, which generates the update script, the update server as they call it. I think that's the part that is not fully ready. So that means it will already push to the update server or the sales server, but it doesn't already generate the actual XML file to manage the updates for this extension. So that's the part that's still in progress. And yes, sorry for that. And I think you could just as well populate this area, and the moment that update is out, I will give a shout in the notice area. Those of you who do not know, JCB has a notice area on the dashboard. It's called notice board, and the one is called VDM, which is mostly for all public users, and the new notice board here is for pro members, where we want to keep track of their information. And this same notice board is showing up in the compile area like this. So just keep your eyes on this area for notices about those functionalities becoming available. And can you believe it? I clicked back instead and have to do it all over. Okay, so I'm going to save it now before I lose all that changes again. So at this point we have a full functional module created, and so I think let's just add it to the demo component, compile, and see what JCB actually builds. So here we go. We close out here and we go to components. Now in the component area we now have this new Joomla, the component modules, so we can click on that and then select any other components available. We have this target association. You might have a component that you don't want to actually give out publicly, but you want to give module, but you want to give the component out, so then you can only compile it but not export it when the JCB package. You see, because you can include the module into the JCB package so that it also gets exported when you export a JCB package. Whereas when you compile, you're building the Joomla package, right? So you need to make a distinction between a Joomla package and a JCB package. Those of you who don't understand the difference, I would suggest you go through the playlist on YouTube on how to use JCB. It's a fundamental function which is very powerful to grasp the differences, as the JCB has the option to extract your mapped component, plugin and module now. So now we've linked a module to the demo component, so we can simply go to the compiler and compile the demo component. We will now see that it also has the demo component in the list. It has the privacy plugin, and you can install all the above or just the actual demo package. And It also shows you the paths of where this is available, and so you can also download it here. So I'm going to download it because I'm working in a Docker image or a Docker instance, so I don't want to go to command line show you these things. I'm going to extract or download the package instead and then look inside it on my current workstation. Okay, so here I've got the package basically extracted, and we can see that it has the language files here in place, and it has the helper class created. It has the what they call the module file created, and it has the template folder set up. And now let's look inside of these. Okay, so the XML file, quite straightforward. It just generated all the different, so you can see that we chose to keep the rule paths and file paths, field paths to the component, which is how this one works. And here is our name field generated, and well, that's straightforward. And it's a module for the client area. That's the site. It's upgradable, everything as you would expect. Okay, now let's look at this file, the module file itself. So it's very straightforward again. It just actually converted our strings to refer to the correct helper class and loaded in the rest of the values as expected. So this is really the part that you were able to edit inside of JCB. Here we have the helper file. It's an abstract class. It added our header information, and here is the code that we wrote, also added. Very straightforward. Here's the default template, and yes, we are not making use of basically any of the PHP script here, but it's just a demonstration. I mean, you should be able to manage that. If not, you need to first learn how that's done outside of JCB, I suppose. Okay, that's the template. And okay, so let's make a little change and see the change in the code. Okay, first I'm going to the dynamic gets area, and I'm going to look at, let's say, looking. Oh no, you know what? Let's take the other one instead, the looks one. And this query, actually, we could change this to all, and it really is just pulling out all the looks from the database, and it's making it just a few tweaks so that it's clickable and therefore editable. And it's using JRouter, so it's nothing, but it has a component helper class action, get action here, which means we will need to ensure that our component helper class is available to this area, and it's very easy to do that, so we can show you that. And really that's all to it. But the major thing that we need to do is we need to change this from a get list or a get item, which is the main dynamic gets, to a custom. And then here we'll need to give it a function name, which I think would be most proper to say get looks. I think that's ideal. So this would be the name which we then can use in our module. Okay, so very simple, just took the site views dynamic get and changed it to a get customs, plural, not the singular, because we wanted to get multiple of these values, and save and close. Okay, that was actually a mistake. I shouldn't have clicked save and close. I should have clicked save as copy. So let's just open it again and click save as copy. Close it out. now we'll see that there's one here and the old one. We go back because this is actually being used in a side view. If you look down here, you see the side view, it's actually used there. Now, I don't think we have a version, do we? No, because it's a fresh install, this actual view doesn't have a version yet. So all we'll do, we'll just check it back. Well, first we, wait a minute, we just remove this, and then we'll check it back to this function, and it should still work. Okay, there we go. So there's our new custom get, if you will. Now let's go to the module and actually add it. Always make sure that the custom get that you're going to make use of in your module is actually part of your component to which you're linking it. Otherwise you will have very unexpected behavior. So now what we're hoping to do is when you add this custom get to your get options available, we're going to dynamically add some code to this area for you. It's not doing it yet, so I'm going to just paste it in for you so you can see how it's done manually, but just that you know, we're going to help you with that. Okay, so to get the module, or sorry, the components helper class here, I'm going to say load component helper class, and we're going to just use this little script here, and it basically goes to the JPath administrative area, components, then the component it's linked to, and its helper file, and it's going to simply generate this. So that you're doing this in the module code area, because then after that we're going to actually add the data class as well. It looks very similar to this one, so you could probably just copy paste this and just change this name to data, and then change helper to data. So this is the class. Now it's not a static class, and currently I'm wondering if I shouldn't add the same functionality that you could decide whether it's an abstract or which gives you the ability to have static functions, or if it's just a normal a normal class. So I am not sure yet. Currently it's actually just a normal class, so you need to instantiate it and use it in that way. So I'm gonna do that. Gonna take this here and instantiate it over here. Get data, new mod, and the module placeholder and data. I'm going to add this to the data variable, and then in the view I'm simply doing a var dump, and maybe we can just add a pre-tag here so we can see a little better at the values, and then we're not going to need to end the program. I think this will help us see what we get back from the function, and I'll show you all this in the code as well. And we can also close the pre again. Okay, now let's save this and compile and see it in action. So before I install it, I'm actually just going to quickly download this again so I can show you the code, and then I'm going to click on install all above extensions to make sure it is also on this system. Okay, so here we go. There's the new data file that I said it'll create, and if we open this, we see it's a normal class that extends the JObject, and it has the getLooks method in the class, and it basically has the same code that you would see in the side view. Have you added this to a side view, and that's really all it is. It's just a reuse of that functionality in a module. And so now let's see the actual module in action on the system. So I have it installed. I need to go to modules, and I also need to go to components to just make sure I've got some values. So in the component I've added one value, James, hi there, and now in the module area I have to open this module and give it a name, add it to a position, publish it, add it to all pages, save and close, and now just open the site view. And there we have it, demo, well done, you successfully read this important alert message. That's our little HTML snippet, and here is the code from the database. So it returned an array of objects there's the alias, there's the string, and there is the name, and all the other related values from the database. So that's how easy it is to grab data from your component and add it to a module with a dynamic get. I really hope you find it as exciting as we have been in developing it. I think the new module area for JCB is again going to just continue advancing the functionality of this component beyond anything we could have imagined. I realize we didn't show you the README file, but it was there. So those of you that's going to help us test this, please try it out and give us feedback on a pull request that's open currently on GitHub as a draft, and we'll take it from there. As always, thanks for watching, and until next time, take care.